different contexts, but could we realistically, Simon, see two managers lift the respective trophies and then depart? What I'm talking about is this. 2 cup finals across the next week. The FA Cup and the Europa League final, of course, in Bilbao, Spain. How intrinsically linked might the two become? Now, you have been of the view, correct me if I'm wrong, that even if Ange Postecoglou wins Europa League, it's unlikely that would be enough to save his job at Tottenham. And then I noticed this morning in your column in the Mail, you make the case for his replacement potentially being at Crystal Palace. In your column, Simon, you say, and you know what you said, Oliver Glasner has a proven track record at Eintracht Frankfurt and has worked the oracle at Crystal Palace this season. His history suggests he has an ego which will push people hard, players and ownership alike. And then you go on to say, I don't want to be accused by fellow Palace fans of touting our manager for other jobs on the eve of a big game where they could lift the first major trophy in their history. But it's in the interest of objectivity, take note, Martin Keown, that wasn't lost on me. It would be remiss of me not to mention him as a potential successor to Postecoglou.
Yeah.
So Glasner is the man in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, the article is really more about the challenges for Tottenham Hotspur and where Ange Postecoglou is in the great scheme of things. And then in order to suggest, I don't like ever suggesting someone to lose their job, but the question that was put to me was, what do you think of where Tottenham are? What do you think the likely outcome of it's going to be? And of course, I can't foresee what Daniel will want to do. All I can do is look at the reality of where they are. You know, this struggle to avoid finishing one place above the relegation zone, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And the idea that you get one moment of glory as a blueprint for allowing someone to continue is cut out of the Ten Hag playbook. And we know how that's worked out because they made a decision to keep him and then they changed their minds. Now, whether that's worked out with remember him, that's a different discussion. So what I was doing, and I'm certainly not touting Oliver Glasner out of Crystal Palace, I'm saying if I were Tottenham Hotspur and I were looking at managers that were available, if I were deciding that Ange Postecoglou, thank you, you've won the trophy for us, you've got that monkey off our back. I'm grateful for one thing. I'm grateful for the fact that you've rid me of that particular problem, but you have produced a stinker of a Premier League season, and I'm not entirely sure that you've given me more answers. You provided me with more questions than answers.
I think that's fair. I mean, does FA Cup success make it easier or harder for Palace to retain Glasner?
Well, I think that he will be ambitious, and that doesn't mean his ambitions can't be fulfilled by Crystal Palace. It means that he will be pushing, like I said, he'll be pushing for outcomes that enable Crystal Palace to be in an upward direction. You win an FA Cup, which they're perfectly capable of winning, by the way. This is not a great Man City side. They're not frightened of them, and they can go at them and give them a hard game. You would think that the experiences of Man City that have been there before, know what that looks like, know what that pressure feels like on the day, might give them the outcome. But this is a Palace side that can give anybody problems. And in this game, with Mateta on form, Eze on form, other players in really good nick, there's no reason why they won't give Man City a bloody torrid time and potentially win this FA Cup.
And the trophy, not only the prize, Simon, Europe also the prize.
Sure. And then it opens the question of what was the pathway? What was said to Glasner when he came in? What were the blueprint that he was brought in to achieve? What will he now be asking? Because I know what managers are like. The moment their currency goes up, so there's their expectations. And rightly so. They should push. They should push to a point and be respectful of the point when that point's been reached. But they should be pushing. So then it becomes about whether Palace can fulfil his ambitions, not because he's bigger than Crystal Palace, not because he's entitled to do anything, but because he's a football manager of ambition. If you've got a football manager with no ambition, then you've got a football club that's not progressing. Now, it might be then that Palace have shown no track records in the past of really going deep economically. And there's lots of reasons for that, and I can dig into my bag of vitriol if I want and tell you the reasons why Parish won't do it, or I can look at the reality of the fact that they haven't had the financial resources around them, besides the Americans that really want to dip in and give them more money.
I was going to say that. Can they be ambitious necessarily, Simon, without European football money? If they don't win the FA Cup, can they still be majorly ambitious?
Well, they can be ambitious as long as PSR permits them to be so, and I don't think there's any PSR requirements. Then it becomes about cash. How much cash have they got? And where does that cash come from to be able to kick on? And what you want to see is Palace not being under jeopardy of losing Eze, because Eze's flying right now. And Elise was plucked out last year. Anderson was plucked out.
Yeah.
They try to get hold of Gehi. They'll come again for him. It becomes about not just what you can keep, right? It's about what you can buy and improve. Because if they are to win the FA Cup, and they've got a good chance to do it, and they're to have a respectable Premier League season, this man looks upward and onwards. And to do that, you're going to be needing to look at 80, 90, 100 million pound transfer funds. And if Palace can't provide that, then it becomes about what the opportunity for someone else comes along and goes, well, actually, we're an ambitious club. We shouldn't be finishing in 17 in the Premier League. We've got a 62,000 all-seater stadium. This is one of the best in the world. We've got upward-forward motivations, i.e. Tottenham. And I'm certainly not touting Palace's manager, because that would be ridiculous. I'm a Palace fan. I'm writing a balanced article and saying this is what I would do if I was in their shoes. I would look at someone like Glasner. I would also look at the other kid over in Bournemouth, because I think he's a very capable, very capable operator. Yeah.
Would Daniel necessarily want a hugely ambitious Oliver Glasner?
Of course he would. Because if you haven't got ambition, you've got a good manager. I mean, stylistically, there's a lot made of Ange Postecoglou, and I like him. I want him to be successful. But I don't look at this season and think to myself, that's a blueprint.
Yeah, but he's had super demanding and ambitious before in Conte.
Yeah, but it's super demanding.
In Mourinho.
No, there was that. Mourinho wasn't as big a problem as Conte was. Conte was a self-absorbed, destructive, negative influence on that football club.
Mourinho was a problem. We signed him days before a cup final.
Sure he was, but in recent time, Mourinho was one thing. We're talking about in the last 18 months now, where Conte's been in there last 4 years. Mourinho's 5 years ago now. It's half a decade ago. So let's move on past Mourinho and look at the fact that Conte was the wrong appointment because he was so destructive and self-absorbed. Stylistically, Nuno Espirito Santo was the wrong fit for Tottenham Hotspur, and Ange Postecoglou looked like he was. And that's why first impressions are so important. I write it in the article, because the first impressions of Ange Postecoglou have carried him for a long period of time. But from what I understand, there's only one person more unpopular than Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham amongst certain sections of the fan base, and that's Daniel. And it's going to be an irony that Daniel might be the person that takes him out. They may not. But looking at the Postecoglou conundrum, he may well be able to stick two fingers up and say, I told you on the way out that I win trophies on my second season. But what he hasn't proven is that Tottenham, you cannot, I don't care about Man United in this conversation, I'm talking about Tottenham. You cannot finish one place off the relegation zone and suggest that you've got any mitigation for that. And every piece of revenue that you may have achieved from getting into the European Cup, the Champions League, has been given away in merit payments. So economically, Tottenham are probably 10 or 15 million pound better off. In the great scheme of things, it's 3% of their turnover.
Interesting talking about Palace and their chances, and the chances are extremely real against Manchester City. This is Glasner on that.
Most of the stuff we already started to prepare. We will watch a few Man City clips as well, and then it will be Wednesday. Will be we start with the preparation for Man City, but it's we can't do something different, and it also makes no sense. So it's showing what we can, who we are on our best level, and this is how we will enter the final. And then let's see. Then it's football, and everything can happen. But I think the worst thing that we could do is now changing many things, because we can't teach the players something different in 4 days. This would just making them dizzy. So business as usual.
Third time lucky. Third FA Cup final, 1990, 2016, 2025. Third time lucky.
Third time lucky. You never know. I was wondering if there'd be even money going into this. Palace are 72 to win it. City are 10 to 7 on. Again, I'm going to ask you this, because your dad played for them. You own the club. Will it be a special day for you if they win it?
Yes and no. Obviously, I had 10 years of owning the football club, and grew up with my father that supported them, his father that supported them. So living 200 yards away from the ground, climbing into that stadium, as I write about in the article, as a kid, owning it, wanting to own it because it was something that I felt was something that I wanted to do. But, the end of my time at Palace wasn't fun for me. I didn't enjoy it. The outcome wasn't something I enjoyed. The owners that are there, I don't respect or appreciate. I respect their achievements because they've done wonderfully well. They've done better than me. They've done better than Ron Nodes that had it for 23 years, and they certainly did better than Mark Goldberg, who had it for 15 minutes. So I respect their achievements, but it took away a lot of my feelings towards it. For the Palace fans, I was always in love with the Palace fans, and I think for them to win an FA Cup would be remarkable. I think it'd be wonderful. I think they deserve it. I think they're a brilliant fan base. There's always this segment of fan bases that go, why does it always happen to us? Nothing always happens to you. It's the same everywhere around the country. Every football club has good and bad moments. But on the whole, they've been brilliant, brilliant fans. And, when you see Palace fans at Selhurst Park, they remark about the atmosphere. I always loved the travelling fans because I thought they were such wonderful fans. So for the fans of the club, of which there's lots, around the world, everywhere I went, in the far-flung corners of the earth, you'd go to some remote bar in the back end of Nowheresville, and someone would pop up as a Palace fan. I always used to think, can't you get in a bleeding stadium? But I would be delighted for them.
Yeah. I'm going to call you on Saturday night if Palace win it.
I'd be thrilled. I'd be thrilled.
I want to know how you are on Saturday night.
What I won't do and what I didn't do and what I wasn't going to be drawn into doing, I wasn't going to do it for the Times, who asked me to do it, and I wasn't going to do it for the Mail, which is write some sentimental, cloying article about my feelings about Crystal Palace and the FA Cup, because it's not how I feel. Go and win the FA Cup. I'll be pleased for you. I'll be delighted for the fans.
Yeah, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.